Welcome to That's Canon, a podcast talking about the Canon film series and other similar movies. This is episode 32, and I'm your host, Phil.
And I'm depressed.
It's because you took a sweet, sweet ride down those streams of love.
Down the love stream. If only you could describe them as love streams and not sadness streams.
I know, right? I think I was shocked by, I guess, a couple things. This week we're talking about the 1984 John Cassavetes film, Love Streams. Now, Greg, did you see the poster for this?
No, I did not.
Okay, so maybe I'm going to send it to you in Discord. Maybe it's just
cool.
my inability to tell exactly what's going on in that poster, but it almost seems like it's an action movie.
This looks. Is he in front of is it like an ocean wave crashing behind him?
Exactly.
It looks like either a like action crime movie or like a bad romance novel cover.
Yeah. It has John Cassavetes on there and Gina Rowlands, who plays one of the other main characters in there, Sarah Lawson. Did you know that John Cassavetes and Gina Rowlands were spouses?
When this came out?
Yes, they got married in 1954, and they were married until the day he died.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I guess it kind of makes sense because they're the two characters who had really the only chemistry in the entire movie.
Yes.
So I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's a little weird because they were brother and sister. So
it's kind of like not a direct representation, but in Godzilla, you had Wanda and Quicksilver being husband and wife. And then
and they were brother and sister in Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
See, that's like the less I know, the better.
And this was John Cassavetes' last film that he made was Love Streams. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. He made one other film after this, which was Big Trouble. John Cassavetes
in Little China.
Big Trouble in Little China. He's the secret director.
Get out of here, John Carpenter.
John Cassavetes did die in 1989, so not too long after this movie came out.
Okay. He did look. I mean, I think probably most of the listeners would probably know him best from Rosemary's Baby, the husband.
Yes.
That's what I'm like picturing in my head when I imagine his face. He looked a lot older in this one than I was expecting.
Exactly, right? And I don't know if it's because of just time. Rosemary's Baby came out in 1968. This movie is about 20 years later. Or if it was just because of the hard living that John Cassavetes had. He was a very hard drinker.
Yeah, that's kind of what I assumed. Like, wow, he looks really old, and I realized how much time had passed. And then, I knew he was kind of an alcoholic, so I was like, I guess that kind of makes sense. But I found it really off-putting at first.
I'm not going to say it's impressive that he was an alcoholic and was able to achieve so much, and that he
direct a film,
and that he could direct films. But I'm going to say it's kind of impressive that he's this high-functioning alcoholic in real life, and that he's able to write, direct movies and star in them.
Yeah. Credit where credit's due, I guess. I mean, it's a hard thing to do when you're sober. So
maybe it's easier. Again, I don't want to make light of this, but I'm going to. Maybe
alcoholism.
Maybe it's easier when you are drunk all the time. You're like, who cares? Let's just get this done.
Well, you said a mouthful there. I think that definitely shows in a couple places.
But so the movie Love Streams, it's a drama. I think that it is just straight up drama. There might be funny moments in the movie, but it is. Do you disagree?
What? No, I was trying to. You said there are some funny moments. I don't think I even chuckled to myself through this entire thing.
I
guess maybe her dream sequences were kind of goofy.
Yeah.
Although I guess there was one line that her daughter says that I thought was funny, but I don't think it was meant to be funny.
You just found it here.
I just found it funny. Yeah.
So,
but yes, heavy drama for sure.
Oh, exactly. And the movie's so long, we're not going to do kind of like a beat by beat that we normally do. I think we're just going to kind of talk about it.
We'd be here for hours.
We'd be here for hours, and honestly, reliving some of the scenes again would be very depressing.
Yes.
John Cassavetes plays Robert Harmon in this film, and I kind of didn't understand what his profession is besides being a Playboy writer.
Yeah, I guess I feel like it would have been helpful if we knew what kind of things he wrote,
Yeah,
that he would be so popular that he can live this kind of, rich single guy's lifestyle. Yeah, the rich Playboy lifestyle
he
because
had women constantly over at his
oh
house,
yeah.
like and
He
handing out
practically had a
money.
harem.
He was giving money away. He was like making mimosas in the morning when everyone was waking up. At first, I thought he ran a brothel.
Okay, yeah, that's probably a good place to start because that's what I thought at first too. It took a while before I realized that oh he's a writer because someone mentions it offhand, but like the movie starts and he's like got a bunch of young women who are clearly like old enough to be his daughters. He's like surrounded by these, he's like interviewing them for about like how to entertain men and do they sing and dance and then you see him in like this nightclub scenario where it's like a jazz club and everyone's kind of dressed to the nines and but there's like all these really pretty women and dressed up really well and they're singing and they're dancing and I was like, does he run like a nightclub or yeah like a weird brothel or something? It
Yeah,
was really confusing.
I honestly think there was like two things going on here because I get wanting to do research to make sure that what you're writing comes off sincere, but are we to believe that for this moment he just has tons of women over or is this just how he lives his lifestyle constantly?
That's yeah. I think we're left to guess at what his lifestyle actually is, and that's I think you can only come to that conclusion after you see the whole movie and see it as a whole. You're like, okay, I think yeah, you're right. He like maybe justifies this as he quote unquote research for his books, which I'm gonna guess that he writes romance novels. What do you think?
I'm gonna guess so too because I remember in the film someone comments that he writes women really well. I want to say that he probably writes romance novels from the point of view of women.
Of women, yeah, and probably caters to that audience. Which
Exactly.
so I think that's how I would justify him having all these women around and how he justifies it. But really, he's just sleeping around and these they're drawn to the money or the lifestyle or the fame or whatever. But it's just a really really weird dynamic because yeah, he's got like 8 to 10 women who live in his house with him and are really young
Yeah.
by comparison.
Uh I I gotta say having one other person, like an adult person living with me, obviously my wife, is more than enough. I could not fathom having to give attention or time or money as he does to eight
Yeah,
other individuals. That has to be so hard to juggle.
yeah.
And I
I don't
just
know.
I don't see besides obviously having beautiful women around and probably female company at any moment. Uh, if he gets anything else out of it, does he does he get some
Yeah.
kind of like emotional connection with eight people? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he does, just based on how he like describes women in general. Like, I don't get along with women. I don't get along with men either. I like old people and kids because they're innocent, or
Yeah,
whatever he says.
that's a good point because he does say throughout the movie multiple times that he doesn't like other people except for old people and kids. And I old people are just they're kids essentially, right? You eventually you get to the point in your life where you have to get taken care of because you're too old to do it yourself now. And you
Yeah,
rely on other people to get everything else done for you, just like kids rely on grown-ups to do everything pretty much for them.
yeah. Which is a weird thing because this is like one of the biggest and most depressing parts about this movie is this guy. Not only can he barely take care of himself, he is terrible at taking care of other people.
Yes.
And I think we should talk about before we go into his sister, like a whole separate character. We should talk about John Cassavetes' character. What's his name? Robert something? You said?
His
I totally forgot.
name is Robert Harmon.
Robert Harmon. I just in my notes he's just John C.
John Johnny C.
Johnny C. We should talk about him and his relationship with his son.
Yes, because there's two plot threads in the very beginning of the movie for like the first, I would say, hour and a half. There's two plot
Yeah.
threads that play parallel to each other and then intersect at a moment, and then they both proceed forward. So
Right. And just to kind of context for everyone, this is a 2.5 hour movie.
yes,
This is like an hour in 10 minutes longer than most of the ones that we watch on this show.
exactly, and heavy as hell.
Yes.
So John Cassavetes' character Robert, one day he just has his son dropped off to his house because his, I guess his ex-girlfriend or ex-wife
I think he said she's an ex-wife. Yeah.
has to conduct some business in order to get a bank loan for something. Now,
Yeah. Very unclear.
very unclear about what's going on. But I kind of liked the whole, and I thought the movie would have been more of it. John Cassavetes having to take care of his now son that's at his house. Essentially, it's like a 24-hour. You got to take care of the kid. This is the only thing I've ever asked for you as a father. Just take care of the kid for 24 hours.
Yeah, which is hilarious to think about because any normal parent, you're a parent, like that's all the time.
Yeah.
And but like just 24 hours, you can tell is like going to be grueling for this guy because he's so incapable of taking care of kids, let alone himself.
Exactly. And the kid, I would say, what is about 10?
Yeah, I think he says his name. He's like 8 or 9 or 10, something
Exactly.
like that. Yeah.
So immediately, John Cassavetes, all of his harem comes out of the house to meet this kid, and they're fawning over the kid because he's a little kid, he's cute. All the women are obviously probably trying to look attentive towards the man who's supplying their lifestyle, and it freaks the kid out.
Oh yeah,
Rightfully
he's totally
so.
freaked out.
The kid probably lives a very sheltered, normal life, and now he has like 10 women,
strangers, basically
touching him and saying how cute he is, and it's kind of a shock.
Yeah, pinching his cheeks and all that crap.
And obviously, like, the kid kind of gets over it because he runs away, and then John Cassavetes, gets him and brings him back to the house, and he's kind of like, okay, let's just go ahead. Essentially, like, let's get through the day. And John Cassavetes immediately starts putting him to work. He's like, well, clean that up, clean this up, do that, clean this up.
Oh yeah, he's like cleaning up after his dad's parties or something. There's like wine glasses and liquor bottles
and beer cans and full ashtrays.
Filthy.
And
remember smoking.
I was about to say, the one big thing that I noticed throughout this entire film, John Cassavetes constantly smoking.
Oh, like a chimney.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I wonder if we were born in a different generation, would we have noticed it that much?
I don't think so, right? Because we were in the generation where even on TV there was smoking, and then we were part of the smoking's bad. We've banned smoking in restaurants, and we've now seen companies like Disney go, we don't have smoking in our movies anymore. And they're like upfront about it. Right?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, we like you said, we were kind of part of that transition time frame where it went from something that was kind of normal and accepted, and all of a sudden it's the no smoking was a big thing for kids. So it would be interesting to see how much that would fade into the background for someone like our parents' age who just that's how pretty normal thing to chain smoke like that.
I will say, when a character smokes in a film, my kid will go, "That's disgusting." So it's at that point now where this generation coming up, our kids are like, ew. And hopefully it stays that way, right?
Yeah, but, right. Where's this poor kid, Alfie, whatever his name is?
Albie.
Albie.
Horrible name. Albie.
Poor Albie. Albert? I'm guessing.
Maybe. Hopefully he has a real name.
Poor
Albie.
Albie, beyond having a terrible name, he's got to like carry around these giant full ashtrays and doesn't seem to care.
Secondhand smoke, getting that cancer.
Mm.
And then John Cassavetes he lets the kid just start drinking beer. He was like, "What do you want to drink? A Coke?" He's like, "Beer?" The kid's like, "Yeah, I'll have a beer." And he just starts pounding it.
He tells the kid to pound it.
Yeah,
He's like, okay, like he's just like sipping it because it's clearly disgusting to him. Which I mean, he's a kid. What does he? Yeah, he's gonna think it's gross. But he's like, come on, knock back that drink. We're gonna have a, we're gonna have fun like men. It's like, oh God, dude.
exactly. I think
He just does not know how to relate to kids.
the like men part that John Cassavetes talks about is interesting. That his viewpoint of what men do and how men have fun is to kick back, drink hard, and take advantage of women.
And basically like neglect the other parts of your life.
Because out of nowhere, the father takes his son overnight to Las Vegas. And as soon as they get to the hotel room, John Cassavetes goes, "Okay, I have to go have sex because I can't fall asleep without having sex." He puts it a lot more nicely.
Yeah, he doesn't actually say that to it like the 8-year-old.
And then he's like, "I'm going to leave you here." And he leaves for the entire night. And
Yeah,
Albie relies on the kindness of a maid to get him
yeah,
food and
the hotel
stuff.
housekeeper. That's so, like, I mean, I mentioned it before. The kids in this one are like the worst kind of victims. But this scene where he's left alone in the hotel, and I think you get like a fade. Like he walks out the door, it's daytime, and then he just like fades. It's the middle of the night, and you just see Albie like staring out the window and kind of like crying. And then the housekeeper comes in, and she's like, "Oh, are you all alone? Where's your mom? She's in Los Angeles. Where's your dad?" I don't remember where he said he was, but it's like, when's the last time you ate? Are you hungry?
Yeah,
And he did like, I don't know. The kid is just like dead inside at this point.
exactly. He's just kind of
And the
in
housekeeper has
shock.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, he's in shock. He has no idea where he is. He's surrounded by basically strangers because he hasn't the dad is not in any way part of his life. And the housekeeper has to order him food on room service. It's just like the basic, like bare minimum kindness that anyone's shown this kid in the past half an hour of a movie.
exactly. And then as the next day comes, John Cassavetes shows back up. He's trying to like sober up before he gets into the hotel room. But as soon as he opens the door, the kid is freaking out. And he's like, "I want my mom. Like, you left me here
So
alone all
sad.
night." And John Cassavetes is like, "I thought you were going to be a man about this. I thought, you're going to be fine being here alone."
Yeah.
And then he finally relents and takes the kid back home. Uh, and I think maybe there was a conversation before or during the transition of going home, but didn't John Cassavetes' character kind of insinuate that his mom is sleeping with someone to get money, and that's why the kid had to go away?
Yeah. That basically, yeah, is like, yeah, your mom's a prostitute basically, and she doesn't want you in around to soil the deal, I guess. I don't know. But yeah,
So
telling the kid that basically is terrible.
exactly, such an odd thing. Um, as John Cassavetes takes the kids home, the stepfather's there, and he just starts beating the shit out of John Cassavetes because obviously he treated Albie pretty poorly,
Yeah.
and yeah, he just defends his stepson. He's a better dad than Cassavetes is.
Yeah, his real dad. Yeah. It's in a weird way, and I wonder if you felt the same way, but I kind of liked seeing this character get the shit kicked out of
Yes,
him.
I did too.
Right?
Uh,
I mean, not in front of the kid. That's already, this kid's been scarred enough. He doesn't need to see that kind of violence. But
I thought this part of the movie was very heartbreaking because
yeah,
you have this kid, and while John Cassavetes is getting beaten up, the kid is going like, "I love you, Dad. I actually do love you." Um, and he's
which
talking
I thought was a little odd.
exactly. I just find it heartbreaking that there's this dad. He has the money. He has everything that the kid would need in order to live a good life. He just doesn't want the kid in his life.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's,
Because yeah, I
yeah,
mean, the house that they're at, where his mom lives in with the stepdad, it's clearly like in a not so great neighborhood. The house looks like it's not in great shape. It's he. I mean, it's if the mother is having to, resort to prostitution to make ends meet, clearly there's like not a lot going on in their lives financially.
exactly. Yet John Cassavetes lives this jet setting somewhat life, right? Where he
Yep.
gets to manipulate and use women as he needs to, and throws people away when he's done with them. And he even does that to his own kid. Uh, just a very odd thing. And this is the this is definitely the part of the movie that probably brought me the closest to crying. If not,
I was
I did
yeah.
cry. Uh, I
I was wondering.
the the biggest fault of the movie though is that this storyline ends here in the begin like the
Mhm.
first half of the movie.
Yeah, this is like you mentioned in the beginning. There's like the two threads of the two main characters. This is the that kind of the end of the just John Cassavetes plot line where he like goes on this horrible misadventure with his kid, and you see him get kind of taken away by his mother, and you never really see that. Like that's the end of that plot line, and he stumbles away. Like all of this is kind of intercut with his, as we learn later, his sister, who, what's her name, Lawson,
Sarah.
Sarah Lawson. Yeah, it's kind of like cut in between. But like this was, I thought, the most interesting plot line.
Oh, 100%. I
Him struggling with
I
fatherhood.
thought the other one was, and I guess we can start talking about it because we kind of went over that first plot point. So Gina Rowlands plays Sarah Lawson, and she's going through a divorce, and there's a kid caught in the middle, a daughter.
Of course.
And in the first kind of scene that we see them in, it's the judge and the lawyers, and they're all talking. And I don't know why, but I found some of it unintentionally funny. I know it probably wasn't supposed to be funny, but the whole scene of they're talking about who's getting ownership. It's not called ownership,
Custody. Yeah.
custody of the child.
Ownership.
And it's going to be split, right? The father gets on the weekends, the mother gets weekdays. I guess that's probably like typical of how that stuff works out.
Yeah.
And it the conversation starts breaking down because Sarah's like, well, he can't have him this first time because we have to go visit sick and dying people in the hospital to cheer them up and say goodbye to them.
Yeah. What was up with all of
I
that? That never comes up again.
I have no idea. I found it so out of left field.
Yeah. To like just kind of recap it for everyone, it's she's describing like this is like her hobby, I guess, or the thing that she does to like to she doesn't have a job, I think, because she's also wealthy. This is like her volunteer thing. Like she is like a hospice, not a nurse, but like she just goes to nursing homes and hospitals and just visits with people who are sick and dying and don't have other visitors, I guess. And like goes into a horrible, like depressing detail about, oh, they love having us around because we're so cheerful, and I love being cheerful and giving them someone to talk to and be with them when they're sick and dying.
It's
And like goes on and on about it like in a divorce hearing. It's the weirdest thing, and it never comes up again.
And as soon as she started talking that way and talking about what she does, I I immediately was I was like, she's insane. She is the
Mhm.
one in the relationship that ruined the relationship.
Which isn't what you think at first.
Exactly. You think that the dad is kind of off and kind of aloof to the whole thing because he's kind of sitting there and just taking it. He's not fighting back.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um
because she talks about like, oh, how he's sleeping around and like disappearing for days at a time. And actually, we were almost conditioned to think that he was the problem because of all the other stuff that we saw with John Cassavetes' character.
exactly.
We kind of assume that he's like the same thing.
But then you start realizing that he has sent her to mental asylums or mental clinics. I don't know what you
Yeah, like
call them.
inpatient. Yeah, asylum is probably probably not the right word. I don't know what they're called. Institutions, I
It's
guess.
you used to be able to say asylum, but maybe that was like
Yeah,
in the
it's like
40s.
loony
The
bin.
it went from like asylum, loony bin, institution, mental health doctor, right?
Yes.
So she has been in inpatient treatment for days for mental instability, and she even cops up to it. She's like, there's just moments where I need to get away and I need to recharge, and I come back happy, and everyone's happy.
Yeah. Through this whole, I think this is probably one of the better scenes from like a character standpoint because I think she's the best actress in the movie by
Oh
far.
yeah.
But also like the way we slowly start to realize that she is sort of the kind of the poison pill here, and it's but clearly she's like also kind of a victim. I mean, she's clearly majorly bipolar. The whole idea of like she goes has these manic episodes where she goes and visits these sick and dying people because she's so cheerful and loves to be around people, and then just like crashes and having these depressive episodes and has to be institutionalized because of it. It's really sad.
Oh yeah. And then you see the dynamic shift during the proceedings where the dad is going to get custody because even the daughter is like, I don't want to go to dying old people's houses anymore.
Yeah. So this is where the quote of the week comes in. One of the two quotes of the week. This is the funny one, is if you could even say that, because I think that, like you said, like there's some parts in this scene that are unintentionally funny, and yeah, this is where like the daughter sort of comes clean. She's like, "Yeah, mom, I don't want to live with you. I hate my life with you." I think she says, which is, God, what a gut punch,
Oh
right?
yeah.
She's like, "Mom, I hate my life with you. I want to live with dad. I hate being with all those old people. They smell."
Yeah. I did laugh at that part.
Yeah, I amend my previous statement. That was the one time in this entire movie where I actually chuckled to myself, but it was not intentional on the movie's part. Like, it's a really sad thing that this 13-year-old or 14-year-old daughter is saying to her mother.
Yeah. It is insane to make your child essentially go watch people die constantly.
Yeah. Oh,
Nothing good
it's
can
it's
come
super
from that.
weird. But I have to say, like, regardless of why she maybe kind of earned that feeling from her daughter, as a parent, how would you feel if your son said that to you, something like that to you?
I don't know what I would do. I would probably be in shock and wonder what I did wrong to
Yeah.
to make my kid say something like that.
To kind of push him away like that. Yeah, I'm not a parent myself, but I that's what like really heartbreaking about this whole scene was this daughter clearly having like had that all those feelings built up for so long and like just like unloading it in this divorce hearing with a bunch of lawyers and stuff in the room and like, mom, I hate you, I hate my life with you, I'm miserable, I want to live with dad.
Yeah.
You're crazy, basically. Like, oh my god, what a gut punch.
It's insane. And then Sarah, she goes to we see her have a one-on-one session with the mental health clinic, a doctor, and he is essentially saying, yeah, you need to get out there and have sex with just random
Yeah,
dudes,
you need to go get laid. That's why you're
which
depressed.
I
It's
think
just like,
is interesting because it this movie was like in the 80s, and if it came any earlier, you definitely wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have the doctor who's like, "Lady, you just need to have sex." It would be, We're putting you away now, right?"
oh yeah,
Or
we're giving you pills, or it's you're hysterical. I'm gonna call your husband. Like, ugh,
but now you have the doctor who's essentially going like, you have this whole facet of your life that you're not attending to because you're living
yeah,
a lie. You need to go out and just have sex.
yeah. They keep talking about. I think she uses that word a couple times later, but he says it first here was like, you need to have some balance in your life,
Yeah.
and the way that her and John Cassavetes like try to pursue that is just all sorts of messed up.
Ex-
But that's what they like keep trying to do later in the movie.
exactly. You have the John Cassavetes character whose balance in quotes is
Heavy air quotes.
drinking and having sex with random women, while Sarah's balance is constantly being the matriarch for her family, as well as giving some relief to old dying people. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, which is clearly an escape, I'm sure.
Exactly. So Sarah does take the advice. She goes off to Europe with 1,000 bags. I thought that part was the probably the next funniest part was Sarah goes to Europe and she has 1,000 pieces of luggage and she's trying to talk to someone who's
Oh
French
yeah, the French guy.
and
Yeah,
she's like, take my bags and move them. And he's like, he's essentially like, I'm French. I have no fucking clue what you're saying right now.
this crazy lady like yelling at him and gesturing like, "No, don't you go away. I know you can understand me.
Um,
I need my bags to go over here. I'm late for my train." Blah 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 blah.
Exactly. So she's supposed to be going on this European sex romp. Who knows if she actually is doing it? She says that she
Oh
is, but
man.
we never see it. We never see anything
No,
happen.
yeah. We I mean we cut from that scene with the counselor and her to her in
Yeah.
France. Like that's like one jump cut. Like, oh, I guess she's in Europe now all of a sudden. There was a whole sex romp boner comedy that we didn't see
Oh
in
man,
France and Europe.
I want to see that. Love Streams 2. Uh,
Love Seems True, Electric Boogaloo
exactly.
in Europe.
So she eventually, when she gets to Europe, or she gets her bags all assembled and moved, she calls up her ex-husband from Europe and she's basically saying like, I love you, I'm in Europe, I'm doing what the doctor said, which is have sex with random people.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what he wanted to
And
hear.
the ex-husband's like, I don't give a shit what you're doing, and hangs up on her.
Yeah, it's like we're divorced. I don't care.
uh,
Click.
she immediately breaks down and she's like, I need to get back to America.
I hate Europe.
And that's when our two main characters intersect. It's
Yes,
at
the love streams get
it's
crossed.
at this point that Sarah and Robert meet up, their brother and sister. I found it very interesting that they were brother and sister, that they were having these parallel issues, dealing with it in very drastically different ways. But
Yeah.
when Sarah shows up, Albie's still there. Albie and John
Poor
Cassavetes
Albie.
immediately leave for Vegas when Sarah shows up,
Oh, that's right.
and
Yeah,
that
like she's getting unpacked as they're like walking out the door.
exactly, and that leaves her kind of like struck with the feeling of uselessness again, where she's like, she shows up, she's like, oh my god, it's your son, oh my god, it's my brother, and then they're like, later, and she's just in this giant house alone, feeling really sad for herself.
Yeah, I got the impression that she wanted to go there to because that's someone to take care of, her brother.
Yeah.
And yeah, he just pieces out. So yeah, she's just alone in that giant house. And I don't think we pretty much follow John Cassavetes through the whole Las Vegas thing. Like we don't really cut back to her a lot at that
Nope.
point, do we?
It's not until the next day, Sarah's character, she's in John Cassavetes' house, she decides to get out there and have sex with a random dude, and she goes bowling,
Oh God, that's right. I forgot.
where she acts like a total asshole. She gets her thumb stuck in a bowling ball and like everyone's trying to help her, she's having a panic attack. She emotionally connects with one person in particular, and it's insinuated, not seen, that they go out and have sex.
It's who okay. If I'm an older single lady and I want to go and get some action, where is the first place I think
I
of?
would
The bowling alley?
exactly. I probably not the bowling alley. I would say like a bar.
Yeah, a bar or like a some kind of music venue or literally anywhere but a like a nasty. I mean, I like these kind of places, but like a bowling
Yeah,
alley. Like
I don't really
I
get
don't get
that.
it.
That part was kind of
Uh,
odd, but maybe bowling alleys because it's the 80s was a little more popular and stuff like that. But she,
it's a hop in place. Yeah, it clearly worked. I guess so. I guess we're the
I
idiots.
mean, Joe took his buddy to the bowling alley to talk about killing hippies.
Joe.
We brought it back
Inspiration.
around.
Oh my God. What if there's a crossover between Love Streams and
That
Joe?
would be amazing.
You see Joe in the oh man, they would be perfect for each
They
other.
would be. because they both hate everyone.
They both hate everyone.
Um, so it's
Oh
kind of like
man.
the next day now, and every John Cassavetes and his sister are, they're just kind of like having, they're just kind of chatting, and Sarah goes, "You need something to take care of in your life because you're not taking care of your son, you're not taking care of yourself. You have to have a reason to essentially live, right?"
Yeah,
Uh,
you need someone dependent on you to keep you kind of on the straight and narrow, which, good God, please don't, but we get it.
so what does she do? She goes to like a fucking farm, essentially, and starts adopting animals, and not
Yeah.
even dogs, which like multiple dogs I could get, but she gets like chickens and ducks and a goat and a dog.
And two miniature ponies.
Yes.
Not one, but two.
Uh and she's kind of like manic the entire time she's doing this because you can see the wheels in her head turning about how this is going to help John Cassavetes turn around. He's going to have something to take care of. He's going to have a reason to get up in the morning to do
Hmm.
something.
Oh yeah, major manic episode.
And especially when she gets all the animals home. This poor taxi driver has to help bring in these miniature ponies to the backyard. And he's looking around like, what the fuck are you doing, lady? Like, this is a bachelor pad. This isn't a place that you raise farm animals.
Yeah, where are they gonna like? She like bring like cages full of ducks and chickens. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's in the middle of Beverly Hills.
And just like a junkyard dog, too.
Oh,
Which,
Jim the dog.
yeah. And you can tell John Cassavetes wants nothing to do with any of this. When he finally realizes and sees what's going on, he ignores the dog, and Sarah's mental state starts to deteriorate.
Oh yeah, you can tell like that's all it was gonna take to just like crush that manic episode, and
Yes.
she's gonna swing right back down and gonna be just devastated.
Cassavetes is freaking out because he has stuff that he has to take care of. Rowlands is freaking out because her master plan isn't working. Um,
Surprise, surprise.
exactly. What a dumb idea. And she like passes out. Um, and I guess it's just emotional fatigue, but it's also having a physical effect on her.
It which has happened a couple times. Like she fainted outside the divorce hearing after her daughter told her she hates her.
Which
And
I would faint too. I think if my kid was like, "I hate you, Dad. I want to live with
yeah,
Mom."
like, that's understandable. But like she's clearly prone to these sort of emotionally induced sort of fainting episodes or like blood pressure drops or something.
Yeah,
Whether it's physical or like psychological, we don't really know. But whenever she comes off of her kind of like high, she will just crash like this. This time is way worse.
it's like watching someone eat a bunch of sugar, and you're like, "Oh, you're gonna
yeah,
you're gonna fall asleep in like an hour."
that like a little kid like bouncing off the walls and then okay, go to bed, and then crash.
Yeah.
No, I want to stay up, and then they pass out on the couch.
As she's in her emotional and physical weakened state, she has a dream in which she's back with her ex-husband and child, and she's manically going through, I can't think of the word, magic tricks. I couldn't think of the word magic tricks. Um,
It's two
I
words.
know. Oh,
They're not really magic. It's
they're
they're
gags.
like yeah, they're like practical jokes that a clown would have at a kid's birthday party.
But again, and it's supposed to be this way, so I can't fault anything because it's executed so perfectly. It's just she does the first gag, which is like the ketchup and mustard, and it just shoots out string. And when it doesn't get a laugh or any kind of response, the mania starts to set in, and she quickly starts setting up every other gag. But
Yeah.
she keeps doing each one even worse than the previous one. So she has like the squirting flour, and she just squirts the ex-husband in the face, and then
He's just dead
yeah,
inside this whole time.
and the daughter just is just not having it. Yeah.
Mom, you're not funny.
And the dream ends when she jumps into the water. And I guess it signifies just her drowning, right? She's
Yeah.
her relationship, everything that she's tried to build is drowned. It's dead.
And what's crazy about this dream sequence is that it is, from what we've seen of this character so far, this is perfectly within the realm of
Oh
reality.
yeah.
Like I didn't even realize it was a dream at first. I thought it was a flashback.
I
I totally would have bought that she actually did this.
I same here. I never would have doubted or said it would have been out of character.
Yeah.
Uh,
After that whole like farm, like that farmyard, barnyard, like shopping spree that she went on, like absolutely this lady would do this.
uh,
And it's super sad
it
too.
is. It's so sad. It kind of it's interesting to always see a character like her be written so well and executed so well.
Yeah.
Because it could have came off so hammy and it could have come off just so poorly done, but she does such a great job taking this
Yeah.
really hard scene, this really hard character to crack, and she executes on it.
Yeah, because I think it's a fine line between, like you said, being funny or kind of goofy and hammy, and where the audience would laugh at it or just be annoyed. But it's that fine line between that and just being like you. It's sad and embarrassing, but not in a way that you're embarrassed for the movie. You're embarrassed for her, the character, and you're sad for her daughter and the ex-husband because they're like watching this woman become unraveled in front of their eyes.
It's
And you can see that on the guy's face too. He like when he gets squirted in the
yeah.
face with the fake flower, it's heartbreaking because he's like, wow, that like there's not like what can I do? This woman is she's just gone at the point. Like the woman that he married was gone.
You could kind of say when you said when we were kind of talking about how well she does it, and it's a fine line as you put it, right? It
Mhm.
sparked something in my head from Tropic Thunder, the 2008 film Tropic Thunder, where Robert Downey Jr.'s
Taking a hard
character
left turn here, folks.
goes, "Never go full retard," and they're like, "What does that mean?" And you have characters like Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man. He looks and acts, uh, with like a Down syndrome, but it shows in the movie that he's capable of doing other things. The toothpick thing, the cheating cards, right? Forrest
Right.
Gump, he's slow, but he's also gifted
A
in
great a
certain
great
things.
soldier and a great shrimp fisherman.
Exactly. But if she went Sean Penn in I Am Sam, where it was then Gina Rowlands would have just lost the audience in the Sarah
Yeah.
character. She
Yeah.
walked that line so perfectly.
That's a really good way to put it. That's the kind of fine line that we're talking about here between of being able to portray mental illness in a convincing way that it's it's sad and relatable and understandable, but not like comedic and funny in the way that that could be funny.
Exactly.
Like they're not making fun of it.
There's funny scenes that happen around it, and some of the things start off funny, like the gag that fails, but then you start feeling bad for her because all of her gags are failing, and
And
then
she's trying so hard
yeah,
and is so desperate.
for the love and attention. Um,
Yeah.
I think we could spend a lot more time on this scene, but let's keep pushing forward. As she's in her dream mania state, there's also this horrible storm going on, and John Cassavetes has to show love towards these animals, and he gets them inside. There's something very comedic
Oh
about
yeah.
seeing him in that floppy straw hat trying to get a small pony inside. Um,
And up the stairs. I thought he was going to get kicked by those ponies. They're small mini ponies, but they would seriously do damage if they kicked him.
I thought something was going to happen here too with the storm and just how dimly lit everything was. I thought there was going to be
Yeah.
something tragic that happens, but he gets all the animals inside and he goes to his sister and he's like, I did it. I got all the animals inside. And he's showing that he is capable of taking care of something else.
I Here's my take on that though was that it wasn't sincere.
You think
Like
he's doing it just for his sister?
yeah, I don't think he is a changed man at all. I think he would absolutely go back to living the way that he did. He's only doing that then to get his sister like to snap her out of whatever funk she's in.
It
And like that's
definitely
the only way he knows how to do it.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that too. Because you could definitely see that the snap does happen because as he says that, we get another dream sequence with her where she's with her daughter singing and dancing, and it's kind of
Oh yeah, really
it
weird.
was really weird, but it's like I would assume to signify the triumphant return of her. Because after the dream sequence is over, her character's up and talking and doing things.
Yeah, lucid again, a lot more than she was
And
before.
then she calls the guy from the bowling alley and she packs her stuff and she tells her brother that I'm going to go stay with this guy. And John Cassavetes is left inside of his house. We see him,
Drinking in front of a jukebox.
and that's how we leave the characters.
That's the end. I did you know that that was the bowling alley guy when he showed up? He's like, "Oh hi, I'm Ken."
Uh,
Who?
I didn't. I assumed it was, but I thought it was weird that they gave him a name at the end.
Yeah, like because we don't think we introduced him as Ken earlier when he drops her off after the bowling alley thing.
Yeah,
But so before we get off the ending, there was Ken shows up to kind of like take her away, and all that's raining and pouring again. There was another guy, like a bearded guy, sitting in the living room
oh
with John
yeah,
Cassavetes,
that's
and I
right.
thought he was hallucinating. Who was
I
that?
have no idea. I'm so glad that you brought that up. Um,
Weird, right?
who? Yeah, who was that guy?
I mean, it's like if you can, people listening, you can imagine it's like that classic like '70s beard. It's like he looks kind of like what's his Richard Dreyfuss in Jaws, that kind of that look.
Yeah,
But we don't see. I don't. He's not a character that we know. And John Cassavetes, he's like sitting there like drinking himself into a stupor, and he sees this guy sitting in the chair across in the living room from him. He's like, says, "Who are you?" And the guy just kind of like we get it zooms in real tight on the guy, and he just smiles. And then that's when like Ken knocks on the door, I think, and we never see the bearded guy again. I don't like we haven't established him also having these weird like dream sequences, hallucinations, like Susan. I don't know what that was supposed to be.
neither do I. I am so glad that you brought that up. I don't understand who that was supposed to be.
Maybe I'll hazard a really wild guess. It's his dad, maybe. He's got father issues. Maybe it's his father he's seeing. Or maybe Albie all grown up and it's Albie from the future and he's come back to get John Cassavetes to stop drinking so that he can save the world.
Maybe that's
I don't know. Because it'd be one thing if it was a character that we'd seen before. It's like, oh wait, no, that person's not really there. He's hallucinating. Got it. He's his neurons are firing and he's depressed. But it's a complete stranger. Ghosts. I don't know.
so. I googled it when we brought it up, and there's multiple people here saying that before
Who's the bearded ghost?
exactly. People are saying that right before you see the bearded guy in that seat, it was his dog, and that John Cassavetes is hallucinating that his dog
Mm.
is a naked bearded guy.
Oh yeah, he didn't have a shirt on, did he? Jeez. So okay, that was the anthropomorphic Jim the dog who was like nodding approval.
I don't know. That was it's such a weird thing. I forgot about that part. Because it
Dang.
happens so quickly.
Yeah, it's like a couple seconds where you get that nice tight zoom on the face. It's lit really well. It's really kind of a creepy image, but it's basically meaningless because, well, at least to my, you know, ape brain, yeah, I didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah, out of all the things that I did understand the ulterior, motive of the scene, I did
Yeah, the
not get
symbolism,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, the symbolism, not the ulterior motive. Ulterior motive sounds like it's nefarious, right? Um, yeah, I didn't get the symbolism in
Yeah.
that.
Well, I guess it's I feel a little bit better that other people had the same problem. And I feel like that's like my big takeaway from this entire movie is I feel like we should mention that this had a Criterion Collection release,
Yes.
which was confusing at first, and then it makes when things like that happen, I wonder like, am I the problem? Like, am I too much of an ignoramus to understand what this movie is really about and to understand the symbolism and the metaphors and all the like subtext that I should be feeling and thinking about here? Am I just too dumb for this movie? I don't know.
I
Criterion worthwhile.
I don't think you're too dumb for the movie. I think it's the faults of the movie for being, I guess, like sometimes it hits that third layer of deep where if you weren't I guess if you're not like a rogue scholar, you're not going to get it, right? Some of the stuff is surface level. Then there's a couple things that we've talked about with Sarah's character where, we got the meaning behind of what they're doing. And then
Mhm.
at the end, there's just a naked dude in the seat.
A
And
naked bearded
and
man
you're
who was
like,
once a dog.
yeah, you're like, I don't get the symbolism for this.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Maybe it's I had to couch a lot of my like distaste for the movie, or like it wasn't necessarily distaste, but like my feelings about this movie, I had to couch them as sort of I just maybe it's not my cup of tea. Like a lot of like Lady Chatterley's Lover and some of the movies that we've watched where I can definitely tell that there's quality and that there's good stuff here. It's just so outside my preference and my wheelhouse that I'm not equipped to like appreciate it maybe as much as it should be.
I can definitely appreciate, having watching a movie that not necessarily, yeah, is in my wheelhouse. But I will say movies like this, where it's kind of like a slice of life. It is not a movie. There's not a point in which this thing is played up to 100. It seems like all these people
Yeah.
are real and all their actions are real. I do enjoy movies like that. Um, Dazed and Confused is this movie. It's a '90s movie comedy.
Mhm.
They played it on fucking Comedy Central all the time in the
Yes, they
2000s,
did.
but it's just a day. It's a day where all these characters are being real people. And I appreciate movies like that where every once in a while I sit down and I get to peek into the window of someone else's life and it feels like it's someone's actual life.
Right. There's no big plot and there's no MacGuffin. There's no big bad guy. There's nothing like crazy and fantastic happening. It's just sort of people's real lives, and we're just getting little windows and vignettes of them interacting with each other.
Yep, I appreciate those kind of movies every once in a while, and this one definitely fell into that. I do think, yeah, there was probably a little too much symbolism in the movie uh, at points, but I think overall, I thought it was a fine movie. It definitely made me feel feelings, which is the
Yes.
ultimate point. uh,
What are these things I'm feeling?
exactly. Uh, I thought it was very interesting that John Cassavetes did pretty much everything in this movie, and I gave it a 4 out of 5.
You did.
Yeah,
Okay, wow. It was like a 2 for me, honestly.
hey man,
I
I get that. I get it.
and I think we've talked about this a million times before, but I'll say it again. Like I have a hard time rating movies like this because it's hard to just throw a number on something sometimes, but this too is more a reflection of how I was feeling while watching it. And I think most of the time I was bored. But then there were some of the scenes like the dream sequence and the parts with him and Albie that were like really kind of interesting character drama, and
Yes,
I was totally tuned into those. And that's why but like that was such a small part. I feel like those good bits were peppered in with a lot of just sort of filler to me. Again, I'm sure I this is very much personal impressions, but there was just not enough of the good stuff, and it was kind of spread really thin. So I found myself kind of my mind kind of wandering sometimes, or being confused by things, or trying to like pick apart the technical aspects of it too much when I should have been paying attention to what the characters were saying.
that's interesting
So
because if you asked me, could this movie be have been made tighter? I couldn't tell you a single thing that they should cut in order to make it a tighter film. Because trust me, I saw 141 minutes on here and I was like, oof. Especially for a drama, which isn't necessarily my favorite genre. But after getting done watching it, I think they definitely in my opinion, I think they needed everything in the movie to get where they were going. It's just maybe they could have done stuff a little bit different to make it either more exciting. I don't want to say exciting because that's not the point of the movie. To make it, I
Yeah.
guess, more compelling to the viewer, because sometimes life is boring, but when you're watching a movie, sometimes people don't want to watch the boring parts of life.
Yeah, and that's why that's why I kind of feel a little bit guilty giving it that kind of low score. But like I just have to be honest, like
Yeah,
that's just how I was feeling. And I think I would agree that you couldn't there really nothing is jumping to mind immediately where you would have to, oh, that whole thing is useless. I mean, maybe the weird interview with the harem in the beginning.
I think that's the only thing that probably needs more context and everything. I would like to have seen why he was needing all of those women.
Yeah,
Um,
like what more of his backstory.
yeah,
I think in terms of like cutting, I feel like it was a lot more so just things running a little too long. It's hard to put my finger on, but I feel like there were like a couple times where like enough was the point was gotten across, and okay, there were like lots of like gaps of silence, and I don't know. I'm having a hard time articulating it, but
I get what
there
you're
just
coming
felt like it was a
from.
lot of it was very padded. It felt like, or I don't know. Maybe they would just say that they gave things room to breathe.
They gave things room to breathe. I think that's the perfect way of putting it. I also 100% feel that this is going to be the only film where we have such an not an in-depth conversation about the movie itself, but an in-depth conversation about people's actions and emotions. Uh,
Yes,
because
compared to yeah, it was like Lady Shadowless Lover was like at the 5 or 6 scale of like emotional depth, and this was up in like 8 or 9, really, really deep. So much so that I even was not having trouble grasping it. Whereas most of the movies that we watch, and I think what you're going to say is the movie we're going to watch next week, is down in like the 0 to 1
I
range.
don't, I can't see us needing to have discussions on dream sequences and people's emotional states for the rest of this podcast.
Hey,
Now, interestingly
we're
enough,
simpletons.
we did before the movie, we did talk about the movie that we're going to watch. And we know that it's a sequel. Greg, I also just
Oh
assumed
boy.
blindly that we wouldn't need to have watched the first one. Um, and in my 2 seconds before announcing the next film, I realize that there's characters that carry over. Um,
Ruh-roh.
there are, I guess, plot points that might be carried over too, but it's okay because I also found the first one streaming.
Phew.
Uh,
Oh, thank God. For free, I
yes.
hope.
So the next film is not a canon film, but it's one that we need to set up in order to get to canon. We're gonna watch the 19.
Okay.
We're gonna go back in time because we're in 1984 right now. So we're gonna go
Do-do-do-do-do.
back in time to 1980, September 10th, 1980, where we watch the film The Exterminator.
Oh boy.
This is to set up the canon film Exterminator 2. Now, The Exterminator is about a man's best friend is killed on the streets of New York. The man then transformed into a violent killer, turning New York City into a great war zone. And Christopher George is the only one to stop him. I wonder if Christopher George is a character's name or the actor.
Yeah, I thought isn't Robert Ginty in the second one?
Robert Ginty's in the first one too.
Okay, so maybe that's the character's name.
Christopher
Or just some other guy. I don't know.
It's the actor's name. Why would they say that? That's like when they say it's Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness is one of the titles for Army of Darkness.
The
It's
actor
like
versus the Army of
that's
Darkness.
the actor's name. Not it should be Ash
I
versus the Army of Darkness.
all I'm hearing is a cheap Death Wish
It
knockoff.
sounds like it. We're gonna get I'm gonna assume a very tight 90-minute film in
Ah,
which
yes.
we get to have fun and watch people explode.
Woo!
So Exterminator will be the first one that we watch. Then we'll move on to Exterminator 2, which is the actual canon film. And then, yeah, just taking a peek ahead, We are so close to Chuck Norris. I could feel his beard.
Mm.
It's that close.
I can taste the Chuck Norris.
Now, you've already said the quote of the week, right? It's about the old people smelling.
I hate being with all those old people, Mother. They smell.
Okay, we can start.
Mother, I want to go with my father. I hate my life with you. I hate going to see all those dying people. I hate being with those old people. They smell.
You also you gave me two, and every once in a while you send two to me.
Yes.
So you have the I hate people with all those old people. They smell, but you also sent one, and I like this one too. Life is a series of suicides, divorces, promises broken, children smashed, whatever.
What would that be?
Yeah, well, life is a series of suicides, divorces, promises broken, children smashed, whatever.
Yeah, John Cassavetes says that to his sister, I think before she has her kind of major meltdown after they get back from Vegas. And it's just, boy, does that just encapsulate the entire movie, right?
That's what I was about to say. Perfectly summarizes the entire plate, the entire film right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I think, just kind of sum it up again. I think if you're into like character studies and a good drama and something that's a little bit unique, this is probably something you want to check out. And I think, again, the fact that it got a Criterion release means like there's something there that big film people all agree that is there and should be appreciated. So even though it wasn't my personal cup of tea, I feel like this is something we have to recommend.
Oh yeah, I definitely would recommend this for anyone who's interested in a good character piece. But I don't think that that's our target demographic. So
no, we want to watch people explode, damn it.
Exactly. So stay tuned because next week we go to see The Exterminator. Well, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe. Oh shit, I fucked that up. If you like what you're hearing,
just subscribe anywhere.
Subscribe. If you like what you're hearing, go ahead and hit like, hit subscribe, give us some comments, send us an email, tell us how we're doing. Ultimately, while I do look forward to this every Sunday, it is for you, the people, to listen to, and hopefully you're enjoying what you're hearing. You can send us an email at that's canon, that's canon, CANNON at gmail.com. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. We recently had a I wouldn't say viral. We had a 24-hour sickness. One of our we had 5,000 views on one of our videos, and we will be turning out
ride that high for weeks and weeks.
Exactly. And Greg posted a minute review, the other guy review, and I gotta say he set the bar up so high. I love it.
And we're never going to come back down because god damn are those videos hard to make.
Exactly. You YouTubers get a lot more respect than I used to give you.
Well done.
Well, again, where was I?
We were telling them to subscribe on every possible medium that they could possibly can, because pump up those numbers, people.
Pump them up. And remember, since we said it,